Who would win, Sugilite or Malachite? Hello everyone, this is a Steven Universe discussion / theory video on Sugilite versus Malachite. This has been requested by a few people, so here it is. Now, I'm not gonna, add a bit of filler, so let's just get right into it. Now, just for a little fun as well, let's make up a little situation. Let's just say, in the episode Super Watermelon Island, Pearl decides to stay with Steven and Peridot for whatever reason she has, or to most likely just put the finishing touches on the gem drill so they have a better chance of stopping the cluster. So only Garnet and Amethyst go and stop Malachite, and they form Sugilite, and here we go, of Sugilite versus Malachite. Now, as we all know, Malachite has went toe-to-toe with Alexandrite, the crystal gem's strongest fusion that they can form, and it's honestly up to you to think whether or not Malachite is stronger than Alexandrite, actually, because Malachite did have Alexandrite cornered, and it did look like she was going to get fully KO'd or poof, and the gems would possibly would have been shattered or anything like that, but because of the watermelon Stevens interfering with the fight, Malachite lost her focus and Alexandrite was no longer cornered, and that eventually ended up with Malachite losing the fight. I made a video about how Malachite should have won, so it's up to you if you do think Malachite is the strongest fusion that we've seen, with Alexandrite being a very close second, but I'm just kind of rambling by this point. The whole point is Malachite is stupidly strong, really strong, but of course why she was so powerful against Alexandrite was because of the water around her. Malachite can control water like Lapis with no problem, and without it she pretty much lost over 50% of her power, and without that she's basically left with Jasper's strength, helmet, spin dash, and Lapis's wing. And Sugilite wouldn't exactly have a problem fighting against Malachite if that's the case. Malachite doesn't exactly have any range, powers, or projectiles to fire at Sugilite from a safe distance. The only projectile she really has in this case is herself, like how she launched herself at Alexandrite, and it was powerful enough to knock her down. But against Sugilite, that wouldn't really work, and if anything, Sugilite would want you to get close. You know how Alexandrite pulled in Malachite with Sugilite's weapon and punched her pretty damn hard? Sugilite would be doing that on a constant basis, and the punches and hits would be harder, if anything. You can only take so many hits before you're down or knocked out, or in this case, poof. So Sugilite versus Malachite without water is pretty much a stomp for Sugilite's case. But we all know Malachite with water is nearly unstoppable. Sugilite would have a much harder time fighting against her. What made Alexandrite have a better chance against Malachite is that she's extremely versatile. She could fight close range, she could fight long range, she had a bit of strength to keep up physically, she could breathe fire, goddammit. Sugilite can't really do all of that. She definitely has the physical strength down on lock, and same thing goes for close combat, but she can't really breathe fire like Alexandrite, at least from my knowledge. Now, she might have the possibility of controlling a bit of fire like Amethyst, as has been shown doing a number of times through the series, but just lighting the whips on fire won't really be effective when you're fighting a monster that controls water with no real contest. Now, Sugilite might be able to do what Amethyst did against Jasper and Earthlings that episode, where she charged up a spin dash with the whips on fire and basically created a big ball of spinning fire. So think of that, but 5 to 10 times bigger. Now, I don't have 100% confirmation on if Sugilite could do the spin dash in the first place, but if Malachite can do it from Jasper's half, then Sugilite should be able to do it from Amethyst's half. That's just, basically common sense. But we all know that Amethyst's spin dash isn't exactly the best, especially compared to Jasper's, so it's gonna be not as powerful, not as fast, of course, and even when it was at its max, it didn't do anything to Jasper. Like, it actually did nothing towards her. It might be entirely pointless for Sugilite to do that in the first place. A thing that might give Sugilite a better chance is a bit of shape-shifting. She is a fusion of of two gems that we know are great and excellent at shapeshifting, so I would imagine she would be able to stretch her arms to give her some advantage during the fight, maybe able to stretch out two, maybe even all four of her arms at the same time towards Malachite to pull her in closer for more close range combat, because that's basically how it's going to be going for Sugilite if she wants to dominate this fight. Another thing that I could bring up is that I would assume that the longer that Sugilite is formed, the more aggressive she becomes, kind of like in the episode Coach Steven, but at the same time she becomes more reckless, more than usual for her at least. So without those little things, Malachite could just create the biggest tsunami that would overwhelm Sugilite, and that basically just be the fight. Let's all remember that in the first few minutes that Lapis was on screen, she had a cracked gem, so not at full power, and she pinned down Garnet without even trying. So pretty much imagine that scene, but on a much bigger scale. And even if the fight did go on longer than needed, so Sugilite would get a bit more stronger and more aggressive, she would also get more reckless, as I said, and kind of like with the fight with Pearl, she would just eventually lose because of that. Now, I could be wrong on that bit. Sugilite's monster strength could just be enough to stop and possibly even overwhelm Malachite entirely, if anything. But one thing for sure is that this fight is going to be a lot harder than if Alexandrite was fighting instead. As I said before, all Sugilite really needs to do is just get close, pulling a few punches towards Malachite, and that might be it for her. It's simple as that. She doesn't need any fancy weapons or powers to do anything. You just punch her hard enough, she'll give up. As I said before, you can only take so many hits and punches before you just give up, or in this case, poof. So, yeah, that's basically it for this fight. You know, it was a little fun coming up with this one. They're both giants in this case, and yeah, it's kind of hard to actually decide who would win. You know, a monster that just has all the strength in the world, basically, or a creature that can just control pretty much everything on the world, which is water in this case. So yeah, what do you think would happen? Would Sugilite actually overpower Malachite with her unmatched strength, or will Malachite just destroy Sugilite with all the water that's around her? As Malachite said, you're out of your depth in this case. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Have any questions, comments, concerns, or any other discussion topics you guys want me to talk about? I'll try to answer them the best I can. Let me know in the comments below who do you think will win and who do you want to see on this versus series next. If I'm right, I actually do have the next episode planned. It might be Lapis versus Aquamarine, unless someone or you guys get together and say like, no, we want this one, and you like really try to push it in this case with like a bunch of likes and anything like that. On the comments below, you know what to do with that. One Johnny Fanner for the channel, be greatly appreciated. Twitter and email are in the description below. Send it to either or. Support me on my Patreon if you want to. That would be very friendly of you. Have a great day, have a great night, and everything else you know what to do. Bye.